What's up, everybody? Sean the D-Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys have yourselves a great week. We are here to talk about episode 9 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, titled 300th Night. So, I believe this was the episode done by Jonathan Frakes. I mean, it was fine. Like he typically does. Let me make sure that's right. But I'm pretty sure he did this episode 9. Mm, Let me double check real quick. Yeah, Jonathan Frakes did do this one. This one was probably better. It still had problems, but it was a little bit better compared to some of the other ones that we've gotten. Like I think episode 6 and then probably episode 9 was good, but like a lot of the stuff was just pretty predictable in how things were shaping out. So, what we learned in this episode, the cadets are done. They're done with their year of Starfleet Academy, even though we didn't really see much of them doing any kind of academics. Uh, just sparsely here or there. They're done. They're heading to Beta Z for the you know um basically the not foundations, not the word. What's the word I want to use for the celebration of Starfleet planning their council on Beta Z, all that stuff. Yeah. So you have Sam, Genesis, Jaden, Darum, and Caleb all in Jaden's room as he does this kind of Klingon kind of ritual kind of thing. Basically, hey, make my home your home. You're the family I chose. That just stuff like that. Darum obviously participates. Genesis participates. Sam, even though she can't drink anything, even though we just well, no, never mind. We didn't see her drink anything. Um, she says the Klingon words and passes the bowl. And Genesis is like, we're probably speak only Klingon in our room next year. Sam's like, I don't know if I applied for a single room, and you could definitely tell that kind of like hurt Genesis' feelings. Which, so no, I'll get to it. So Caleb, he doesn't participate. He just like, oh, I got things to do and stuff like that. It's still the whole, oh, where's my mom kind of situation, which we hadn't really touched on for several episodes. But he runs into Tarima in the elevator. They do a little banner back and forth, and doesn't really go well. He's moping around in his room. Sam pops in, and then he she finds that he's been trying to find a hidden message from his mom, let him know that she's okay and all that kind of stuff. But Sam's like, well, have you tried like something simple? Something a younger Caleb, 8-year old Caleb would know. And turns out there was one thing he didn't do, which is I think he mentioned he hadn't tried it since he got out. So I can maybe excuse that, but essentially, but like you haven't tried it since then. You only tried it once, and probably the one time you did try it, it didn't work. So he puts in the name of the moon that we heard, and then they did a little flashback talking about it because his mom's name is the moon spelled incorrectly or just something like that. Lo and behold, that works, and he is flooded with 2 years worth of messages, and he goes through them relatively quick in the span of like 4 minutes because it's like a little time lapse that goes on. So so meanwhile, you have Vance meeting Kelrick and Nala, and because they've found out what was stolen. What was stolen was something called, I think, the Omega 47. And essentially, it, when detonated, it basically, it shreds the general area to where how did Vance say it? He's basically for like a million years, nobody will be able to warp through that sector. So, and that's not the only thing he stole. He also stole time delays. Basically, basically Braca created minds of the Omega 47, and I'll get to. There's a point where I paused it, where I paused the episode, and I was like, I know exactly what he's gonna do with it. Like it was so obvious of what he was gonna do with it. So, um, but we'll get that to in a second. So, um, Vance is like, get your cadets to Beta Z. We're gonna hunker him. We're gonna, hunker in place. Beta Z will be the most. It's basically the most heavily fortified place in the sector, because half our fleet's there and all that kind of stuff. So meanwhile, learning where his mother is, Caleb plans to take a shuttle and go to Uchek, which is the name of the planet. Sam pops in and basically just tells him, basically goes on this thing of like how I'm smarter than you because you need me to do this kind of stuff. Da 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 da. Genesis happens to walk in because she is working. She's helping on lockdown duty. Durham is drunk, and so they take a shuttle out and warp it to Uchek so Caleb can find his mom. Obviously they make it there, um, and um, they find Caleb's mom. Everything. She's very hesitant about Genesis, Sam, and Darum. Meanwhile, you have Terima looking for Caleb. Comes across Jaden. Jaden's holding the pad that has all the messages from his mom. They both go and tell Nala about it. She has a conversation with Vance, and basically it's like he's not gonna like give her a direct order or things or something like that. It's basically like do what you need to do, and so her plan is they're Reno has an automated system for the bridge. Okay, and so her, the doctor, and Nala, they're gonna take the Athena all the way to Uchek to get the kids. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back to Uchek here in a second. So here's where I paused it. So as they're making their way to Uchek, Reno picks up. They were scanning. They were scanning. They scanned something that wasn't there before. It's a Omega 47 mine, and Nala's like, send the information to Admiral Vance, and then give me an overlay and all that kind of stuff. And so she's looking at where the first one was detonated and where the second one is placed, and she's like, these are light years apart, or these are like light years apart, and kind of stuff like that. It doesn't make sense on what he's trying to do. So when I paused it, I said to myself, this can't be this predictable. Is he gonna take these mines and essentially, because he talked about it with, I think was she talked about it with Kelrick, I think, where she was like, he knows our defense, or he knows like what we're gonna do in situations and stuff like that. Um, so essentially, what he did. I'm just gonna go ahead and just go through it. What he did was what Braca did was he took the Omega 47 mines and placed them around Federation space. And I said to myself, he is basically trapping them in a ring or in a box, in a prison, however you want to use the term to describe it. He is trapping them in this Federation space. All the shit, nearly, I think, pretty much all the Federation ships are in this area, and now they're all trapped. And I was just like, come on. That can't be that predictable. They realize it too, because they're making their way to Beta Z when Reno picks up on it, and it pulls up a map, and it shows all the mines basically surrounding the Federation space. I was like, oh my gosh, they are doing that. That is what they're doing. And so So that's that. Obviously, Jaden and Tarima stowed away, got into the bridge. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, back on Uchek, let's back up a little bit. Over on Uchek, Caleb finds his mom. Obviously, he talks about he's going to leave with her, and obviously that causes emotions because Daryl rightfully lashes out at Caleb because Darren's like, "What did you tell Jaden? Um, he you were his family. He made you his family." And Caleb was like, "It was just a stupid ritual and all that kind of stuff." And Darren's like, "Not to him, not to Jaden. It wasn't." And then Caleb just goes on this little tangent of like he's basically like he's playing the bad guy here to make it easy for him to say goodbye to them. It seems like obviously Sam doesn't really fall for that. She just hugs him. Um, Caleb talks to Genesis about how like she's insecure and stuff like that. She'll never amount to the admiral and all that kind of stuff. Um, but but they get ready to leave. They get the part they need. Their shuttle has been found. Genesis, Darum, and Sam get captured. And they're about to get executed. Um, Caleb's mom comes in, basically is like, "Oh, these kids aren't worth your time" and stuff like that. Meanwhile, you have Nala and the Athena. They're coming in into Uchak space, and so their comms start to go off, and they can't teleport them. They can't transport them from the distance, so they gotta get a lot closer. And Kayla's mom is, she's trying to keep them from, Caleb's friends being killed and everything. And then one of the people, one of the Veneri Rawls, like, "Hey, I know you." Then like gunfire happens. Caleb's mom gets shot, which is pretty predictable. I thought she was actually gonna die. I was really surprised she stayed alive, um, but they kill them. It's like they get ready to be captured again. The Athena comes flying into above the market, transports them. They get out of there. Caleb sends her. They go to Med Bay 2 or whatever, and that's where we get the whole resolution, not resolution, revelation that what Braca did with the mines and placing them around Federation space, and that's basically how the episode ends with Reno calling out Mayday to any Starfleet vessel. And I was just like, I would probably say it's a lot better. This episode was probably a lot better compared to the other ones. Episode 6 and 9 were probably the best of the episodes. Now, obviously, we got episode 10 next week. It was just so predictable. It was really predictable with the whole the mind thing. And part of me was thinking, why is Starfleet working on something? Why does Starfleet have something like this at a research facility? Now, if it was like something from the past and they've just been researching it at this site, okay. But what what need would you have for this? Like, it doesn't make sense. Now, I mean, you could potentially say, well, we could use it. Maybe you wanted to keep the Gorn locked up or something. I don't know, maybe, but even then, I was just kind of like, why was this even made? Why do you even need this? And it's just so, wow, like, okay, well, whatever. So yeah, so basically, that's basically how the episode ends. It was a little bit better compared to the other episodes. Jonathan Frakes usually does a pretty good job with his episodes that he does. I mean, I did like this one, even though there was a lot of stuff about it was pretty predictable. I still kind of liked it, and I like Jonathan Frakes. He is one of my favorite people within the Star Trek um, franchise and stuff like that. So um, yeah, yeah, but guys, that's relatively it. That is episode 9 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. If you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button, comment below. You can also find me on my gaming channel, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, the Nerd Talks podcast on Spotify, all that you can find down in the description below. But other than that, thank you once again for hanging out. Tomorrow, we will have episode 2 review of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and we'll also be streaming on the gaming channel tomorrow as well. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. So other than that, guys, thank you. Have a good one.